You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
I don't know if it's the hand raising or like this goofy smile that I have to keep on for 3.5 minutes.
I want to keep it long because you just feel better and better and better. And you're like, when is this going to start? It's just,
that's the perfect, you don't realize how important that sales aspect is. I was watching one of those, sometimes you get caught, click here for something, how to win $1 million and blah, blah. And so I'm on the thing and they were saying really good. And I found myself actually saying, well, tell me already how you're going to do it. I mean, the buildup was so good that I got caught in the whole thing. And then I realized I was getting caught and I got mad.
I think that video is really just for you because I've done a few of these videos for other people, and what could make you feel better than just a huge reel of yourself that you get to watch before you get out of show? I mean,
I used to coach that for people. Like before I go on stage and stuff, and I used to bring my son with me and all that stuff. And I think I told you, we used to play that game. Who's the man? You're the man. Who's the best? Right. It was that old kind of Rocky thing when he was doing all that, pumping yourself up for it. But I used to coach people to do that, to actually make at the time, it was an audio cassette or something of you giving your pitch to yourself, like hearing yourself, how you sounded. And it was just very effective and kind of pumping yourself up. Why would I do business with you? Well, here's why I would do business with you. And like hearing notes that you take from a conference or something like that, read back to yourself in your own voice has immense value. It's just much more important coming from you because you kind of most people like themselves, no? Well, some more than others.
How was your week this week, Dan? It's obviously halfway over, right?
Yes.
But how has your week been? You had like a big interview. There's something about you too. I can't put my finger on it. There's something about you,
Mr.
today, that's different. And
and you as well, Mr. Segway. Well, I had a really neat experience about a month and a half ago with a person that we're going to meet here in about a minute, and he poises. He'll explain himself a lot better than I can in his dressing and his attire and all that stuff that he's going to do. But he actually is a custom clothier that hooked me up with some really nice clothes and. He was a nice guy. So I said, okay, let me give him some business and all this. And so he came to the house and he talked to me and he measured me and all that. So finally I said, I tell you what, I'll take a couple shirts. I go, why don't we just order a couple shirts? And he closed me so well that he earned his right to come onto this show. It was so good. It was like delicious. He actually said this to me. He said, Dan, why don't we just wait until you're ready? I'm not looking to sell you a couple shirts and you'll look good for. He goes, I'm looking to change lives, and that's what we do. A new wardrobe will change your life. And so why don't we just hold off? I'm not going to give you a couple shirts and just go. I'm going to hold off. Closed his book and got ready to stand up and forced me to say, "All right, Mark, sit down."
Mm-hmm. He deeged you. He
Oh,
gave you the
it was-
Corona clothes.
It was so good that he earned his right on the show. So I asked him to come on the show to talk about that. And then he did it again. He says, not until you get your new gear. Like, he doesn't even call it clothes. He calls it gear. That's how important it is. And I'll talk about it, how it's affected my life afterwards. But why don't you bring him on so he can say it himself?
Yeah, we're sitting here talking about him, and I had to put a jacket on and everything. But ladies and gentlemen,
I'll go get my jacket.
Oh yeah, you better do that while we're
right.
introducing him. But it's my pleasure to introduce to you the president and CEO of Fonseca Clothiers. Would you please welcome Mr. Mark Fonseca? Mark, whoa, look at this! Welcome to the show.
How are you? The Deej, what's going on? Hey, Chris.
Hey, my man, look at you.
Good to see you.
I've been trying to get you on the show for 6 weeks, but I had to wait forever for my new gear.
That's right.
And let me show you. Look, I could raise my arms. This was a big deal because I'm a big arm raiser. I even told them that when we had our meeting. I said, I'm a big arm raiser. And when you do it, it's like uncomfortable. But look at this. The sleeves don't come out too far. Everything's like perfect. And there's 2 buttons, not 1. You know why there's 2 buttons? Because 2 is better than 1. It's that simple. Mark Fonseca, thanks so much for coming on.
Of course.
You changed my life. Why don't you tell Chris Stone, who was notorious for being an awful dresser, how you could change his life?
Chris, my tagline is, give me 15 minutes and I will change your life.
That's good. That's really good.
And really, it's not really about the clothes. It's how it's going to affect your life. Because once you're wearing the right clothes, the right colors, your personal brand. One of the questions I asked the Deej before we got started was that I ask all my clients is, if you walk into a room full of your peers, same social status, same level of income, same career competence, what message do you want to send without saying one word? He said, one of the things I remember, he said, Mark, I want to send
this is secret stuff, man. What are you doing here? All right.
He said, I want people to look at me and say, I don't know who that guy is, but I want to do business with him. I said, okay, we can do that. So you can send whatever message you want to send using the right patterns and colors for you.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know if I'm most guys, but I think I'm close to it. I have no idea. I have no idea what looks good. I mean, a nightmare is when you come out of the closet and you start going, and then your wife looks at you and says, go back in. I mean, that not only that doesn't match, it's offensive.
Right.
And so most guys don't know. But are there, like, sometimes you see people on TV and they always look so good. How do they know what to wear?
Well, they probably have somebody like me in their life. When you get to a certain level in your career, you realize how important dressing is. And I was fortunate to be the wardrobe consultant for CNN and Turner Broadcasting for 5 years and dressed all of their on-air talent. And you got to remember, the whole point of dressing is to lead the viewer's eye towards your face. So you lead the viewer's eye towards your face, and then they wait for the message that you're sending. So in sales, it's so important. And first impressions are very important, because most sales guys are what I call dead man walking. Is they're sitting outside in the lobby, and because of they don't have a great first impression, they're dead in the water already, and they don't even know it.
Yeah, it's like an easy way to get an advantage in any situation. Are there any? Do you have a certain group of people that you tend to work with more?
Anybody that's highly visible, that needs to make a great impression based on their appearance, are perfect clients for me.
How'd you get into this bit? I mean, it's like it's not like, it's like 2 things. You're growing up, you don't want it's not like you're embarrassed, but it's like, let's say your child came to, what I really want to do? I want to dress men. That's one. And the other one is, I'd like to be an opera singer. It's not something that you kind of think that your son, a manly guy like you, is going to turn into. How did you do that?
Well, ever since I was 15 years old, I told my mother, I said, one day I'm going to have my own clothing business. So literally, when I'm driving around and you say, Mark, you're such a great salesman, but I'm living my dream. I've always wanted to do this since I was 15. And I'm going to date myself a little bit, ever since I saw the movie American Gigolo with Richard Gere. So he's getting ready to go on a date, and he starts opening his drawers, and he's pulling out all these clothes, and he slides his closet open. He's got all his suits perfectly lined up, and he's getting ready. He's throwing all his clothes on the bed. He throws his shirts on the bed. He throws his ties on the bed, puts his pants down. He's got his music in the background. And I said to myself, one day I'm going to have a closet like that. And also, my grandfather had a huge influence on me. He was an entrepreneur in Detroit. He owned a record store. He did the first Mexican radio station in Detroit. He was always well dressed. Every time I would watch him get dressed in the morning, it was like a ritual. He would get his hat out. He would get his clothes brush out. He would get his shoe shine box, shine his shoes. And when he walked out of the house, he looked like a beast. And he looked like he just walked off his private jet.
Dang. You see that?
Wow. I didn't know. So did you grow up in Detroit?
I grew up in Detroit.
Yeah. So same here. Same here. Yeah.
Yeah. Born and reared at St. Joseph's Hospital on 2nd Avenue in Greektown. And then I lived right behind Briggs Stadium at Michigan and Trumbull, where I grew up. Then eventually moved out to the suburbs, and then eventually ended up in Dearborn Heights. And then I moved to Atlanta in 1985.
Wow, excellent. Wow. So yeah, we have some parallels there. I grew up in the Detroit area and was in the music business. Your dad was it sounds like was in the music business as well. So that's interesting. I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Because I know you work with people like Dan, and who is not afraid to say, I need help in this area. And I think a lot of people, not just how they present themselves with clothes, but in other areas, like myself, I may need help in, public speaking, or I may need help in a CRM system or specialty. There is coaching involved in what you do. It's not just, I'm just going to select a bunch of clothes for you. You're actually working with people to develop their personal brand, like you said. And I think a lot of people ever since March, they were used to putting on clothes and walking into office buildings and conference rooms. And now this whole thing that we're doing right now is, job interviews. And even before March, your first set of job interviews are virtual. And so are you working with a lot of people and how they present themselves on camera virtually, and how they, not just dress, but everything like with what you've got going on with your camera, not wearing headphones, like all of that kind of stuff. Do you work with people in order to get them to present themselves best virtually?
Yeah, I do. And my rule is very simple. You're going to dress virtually the same way you would dress for in person. Nothing changes. So you wouldn't wear a headset or headphones when you walk into a live interview or a live meeting. So don't wear it in a virtual meeting. Make sure your camera is good. You've got good lighting. Make sure you've got good speakers on your phone. Make sure you've got a good background. Everything contributes to that first impression, and your virtual first impression is so important. Also, your LinkedIn profile picture. So empirical evidence is people spend 33% of their time looking at your LinkedIn picture before deciding to do business with you. So we have a social media first impression, and people have already formed an opinion about you before they meet you. And also make sure your LinkedIn picture is current, because the worst thing is you have a LinkedIn picture that's 15 years younger, and then all of a sudden they meet you and you're actually 15 years older, and that just really throws everything out of whack, and it just sends such a mixed message. So just embrace wherever you are at your stage of life. Make sure you get your LinkedIn profile picture professionally done. And so first impressions are huge. It only takes 3 to 5 seconds for people to get a first impression. And if that's not positive, it takes at least 4 to 5 face-to-face or Zoom meetings to change that impression.
Dang. Well, can you give me an example about someone you've worked with like that you've helped them?
I've been helping the Prime Minister of Scotland. Actually, he reached out to me, and
really?
It was really, he got referred to by a friend of mine, and he sent this question out to all his followers and said, hey, I'm 60 years old. I'm doing all these Zoom calls now, and all my Zoom calls are new connections. And he says, what do I wear? And it's the whole thing is you don't really dress any differently. And like we did with Dan. So a lot of my clients now are doing Zoom calls. So you're only being seen from the chest up. So the reason, look, we did with Dan, we did the nice detailing on his shirt. We did some trim on his shirt, colored
Spin
buttons.
around, Dan. Give us a little.
Here's the cool thing. It's the jacket. You can see it.
Oh,
It says the Deej, baby. Look at that.
Do you sleep in that thing? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I tell you, it makes it easier but what he didn't tell you about the Prime Minister of Scotland is that the reason why he got the call is somebody told him that this guy dresses the Deej. And so he says, oh my gosh, let me give him a buzz. And so that was the big thing.
Yeah. And so you dress the exact same as you would for an in-person meeting. All right. Whatever you'd wear in person, you want to make sure that your first impression is always positive, and make sure that your brand, whatever message you want to send, that you're sending that message. Because like I said, a lot of guys are, your first impression, if it's not positive, you're really behind the 8 ball, especially when you're selling. Because if you're behind the 8 ball, then your message needs to be really, really good.
So who else, give me an example of maybe a speaker or a salesman, or like maybe a new person that just got started that just said, hey, let me pony up the cash and do it. And what were the effects on that person's life? I mean, you say you're going to change their lives. What's an example of that?
That would be the Deej. Right? I recently met you, right? You had to be prodded, I guess, or influenced a little bit to go ahead and take the step. But once you took that step, and I'll never forget, you came in the office, we tried your clothes on, and the look on your face was priceless. And really for me, as long as I've been doing this over almost 30 years in this business, I get excited about delivering clothes as I did when I delivered my first client. To that deliverable for me, to see you when we hit the mark and you go home and saw your wife, Sharon, and I'm not going to tell you what she did, but I saw when I drove by your house, I saw some smoke coming out of the chimney. So,
well, I'll tell you, just on a personal note, aside from that, and I'm not blushing because that's true. I'm just blushing because whatever. So, so here's a personal thing. My big thing in life, I put on this kind of boisterous Deej, but it's always comical type of thing. My biggest fear is that people are going to actually think that I'm conceited. And this was even when I was a little kid. Like I wouldn't even, people spend a lot of time in, brushing their hair and stuff. I never even I didn't want to look in the mirror. I didn't want to think that I was, caring for myself. And so I really kind of went the opposite direction my whole life. But so he talked me into doing this. I'm telling you, people don't think you're conceited. They just think you look really good. They just think they just give you more respect. It's not necessary. So it was the opposite approach. It's just everything's been good. Since I got this new wardrobe, every single person I've seen has commented. Now
how does it make you feel?
There you go.
It makes me feel like $100.
There you go.
Make it feel like
$101.99.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, it's fun. When I was a kid, my dad, when I graduated high school, my dad gave me $100. It's not this $100, but he gave me $100. He said, always keep this in your wallet and you'll never be broke. And so whenever you break it, you have to replace it. And you always have that $100. And so when I say it feels like $100, I'm thinking of my dad. So it's not it's not the number. I feel great.
Well, I will tell you this, Mark. The first time I heard about you was from Dan, and the first time that he even brought it up was on a podcast recording. And I think that Dan and I record those together, and he was so excited he couldn't even pronounce your name properly. And
I still can't. By the way, nobody can. It's like easy.
Chris did it perfectly.
Yeah, well, he's a pro.
Well, I was sitting here after the recording. I was trying to Google your name, and I was like, "You're not I'm not pulling him up. I'm not, And then finally, I figured it out after a couple of, it's Fonseca, and Dan was like, "Oh yeah." But I really, the way you closed him, that Dan brought that up earlier, and I know you've worked with clients, at higher, apologies to Dan Jordan, but you've got clients that are of higher magnitude.
Yes.
Like
than
Victor
Dan
Antonio.
Jordan. Like
Oh, he's
Victor
got big
Antonio.
shots. Victor. Oh, layman's terms?
Yep,
Doug
Doug
Lehman.
Lehman, and we've got a
Yeah.
question from
Yeah.
Doug, so as well. But I think it's important, especially for the viewers of this show who are salespeople, entrepreneurs, and whatnot, that it's important that they know that they need to address this, but also talk a little bit about how you closed Victor Antonio and Dan Jordan and Doug Lehman. And I love the story about that Dan told about, like, what, you're not ready. When you're ready to be at this level or to do this, then we'll talk, and you're ready. Of course you wanted the business, right? But that technique, is that something that you use, or are you just kind of go with the flow? Like, talk about the sales process for you.
I used to work for a company by the name of Tom James. So I started my career with Tom James in 1993. And, I was one of the few guys that actually went there because I loved clothing. I've always wanted to be in that business. So I was actually the official detailer for the Rolls-Royce Owners Club for 3 years. And the only thing I love more than cars is clothes. So I'm delivering this guy's Rolls-Royce. I go in there and I see a guy measuring him for clothes. He's got his tape measure out. And I said, Tom, who was that? He said, that's the guy that makes my clothes. I immediately knew what I wanted to do. So when I got into the clothing business, it was just, I just really, fell in love with it. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but.
Well, you got into the sales aspect of it. You became a student of the game.
So basically, when I left, I really got tired of being a salesman and a peddler. I didn't want to be a peddler. I really loved what I did, and I wanted to be a true consultant. And when you love what you do, you don't have to sell. People close themselves. I don't close anybody. When you ask great questions and you really care about people, that really comes across. And I had I've had several clients say, Mark, all you want to do is sell me clothes. I said, that's it. I just wanted you to look good. I just want you to look great. That's my whole goal in life, is to change your life. And, so one of my clients told me there's 3 ways to be successful. Be a subject matter expert, live in the world of DK, as you don't know what you don't know, and make the complex simple. All right. So I'm a subject matter expert. A lot of guys don't know what they don't know about clothes, and I make the complex simple by numbering your clothing. It's called dressing by the numbers. So I started doing that, and it's completely changed my business. So I actually number all my clients' clothes, and all they do is match the number up. There's a number in the jacket, there's a number in the shirt, there's a number on the tie, there's a number on the pants. So all they've got to do is match the numbers up, and they look like a rock star every day.
Yeah,
wow.
There it is, right there. He's got his number. Yeah. I think that's number
7.
There's 7. Okay, it's the blue
7.
jacket.
So whatever shirt he's
like
to wear with
Garanimals.
that jacket. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like Garanimals, and so those are the 3 things any salesperson. If you make it easy, if you allow your clients to press the easy button, price isn't an issue. I've literally been referred to guys because I numbered their clothes and they look so great. I've actually walked into an office of a CEO of major corporations, and they literally put their credit card down and said, give me a week's or 2 weeks worth of clothes, and I want everything numbered. You pick everything out. That's how much trust you build when you love what you do and people know you don't have any agenda. And so instead of back in the day where my relationships were a mile wide and an inch deep, now they're a mile deep and an inch wide. And my clients call me when they need something. So I rarely, my business right now is 100% referrals. And I just love what I do. And I'm not selling, I'm advising, I'm consulting. And the better questions you ask, people get that. They're like, wow, you really care. And I don't sell. I really don't. I consult and I advise. I have a 3-step process. I meet with you for 30 minutes. I give you a free 30-minute wardrobe consultation, explain what I do. And then the second step is we go to your house, go through your closet, find out if everything in your closet makes you feel good, look good, everything fits you, right? You feel good in it. If not, we alter it. If you've gained weight, lose weight. And the third thing is I come back with the wardrobe and all the clothing that we talked about on the first appointment that you told me that the message that you want to send.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How much research do you do on that client? So do you, is it about what the client is wanting to achieve, or is it about what you feel like in looking at their personal brand, what you could apply to that?
Right. And that's where the 30-minute consultation comes in. I find out before I even meet my client, I go on LinkedIn, I try to find out as much as I can about them, look at their profile picture. Does he have brown hair, dark hair, blue eyes, dark hair? Is he heavy set? Is he thin? Is he athletic? Whatever. And then on top of that, whatever he tells me the message that they want to send, I combine that together. If his wife's involved in his wardrobe, I'll meet his wife. If they go out together, I have a lot of my clients that are seen together a lot and they're photographed a lot. So I want to make sure that they're complementing each other. So I actually go into the closet and find out, okay, what are some of the things that what she wears when they go out, so I can complement some of the, not that they match exactly, but that I can actually, so when they're photographed together, they're going to be in a magazine or in a periodical or on a webinar or whatever, they look fantastic.
That's
So
great.
there's a lot of, there's a lot of research that I do. And that's really where the subject matter expert comes in, right? I'm not just some guy that wants to put clothes in your closet. I'd rather put less clothes in your closet and have them be the right thing, because it is another tool in your toolbox. It's another tool in your executive toolbox and your sales toolbox. It's just another thing where you check the box. Okay, he's got the look, bam. He's got the product, bam. He's got the message. You're checking all the boxes.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Even down to the shoes. I mean, he got me shoes too. He has a lot of shoes. Tell him what you told me. Because shoes I think is just an afterthought. Let's just get a couple of shoes. He has more shoes than his wife.
I've got more shoes than my wife.
Yeah.
But the first thing a woman notices about a guy is his shoes. One of the first three things is your shoes, because women love shoes. They're into shoes. So they look at your shoes, and if they look great, that tells them a lot about you, right? Make sure they're shined. Make sure your heels are in good shape. They're not all scuffed up. So again, clothing and dressing is all about the details. Pocket squares, cufflinks, making sure you're wearing the right belt, your glasses. He's got his pocket square in, the trim on your shirt. So especially now with Zoom calls and our business casual environment, we're not wearing a tie. So how do we still look good? So all those little things like the trim on your shirt, the pocket square, all those little things send the message and the difference between being dressed and well dressed.
And I like how you work with your client's partner and like, let's make sure when they're pictured together that they look like they belong together. And maybe it's not intentional on your part from a sales perspective, but you got Sharon in on the deal. And when you have Sharon in on the deal, it's a done deal, right? And it was just a matter of Dan just like, where do I sign the check? Where that once you get the wife in on that, it's a done deal. And it may have been something, but it's very smart.
I came home yesterday. I was just on the phone talking to somebody, and she looks at me. She like this. She looks at me and she goes, "Man, you're hot." I mean, this is my wife saying this to me. Yeah, I know.
After how many years of marriage? 25?
Yeah, I can't even get that from my girlfriend. All right, I'm just kidding. So here's the thing. It's when he came, he like knew my color and because I had like when I came in today, I talked to the lady. The security guard, and she goes, "Man, you're looking great." She goes, "What about green?" She goes, "Do you have any green? Because I like green." Now she likes green. Would I look good in green?
No.
Okay, you see, I wouldn't know that. I would have just.
You don't want to impress her. You want to impress Sharon.
But I don't know what looks good with me. If I put a green shirt wouldn't make me look good. It would make me look sick.
Yeah, we'll just make sure, remember why we dress in the first place, okay? The reason why we dress. So it's not only important what we wear, but why are we wearing it, right? So the reason we dress is, number one, to show respect for the person that we're interacting with, whether it's on a Zoom call, a meet, an interview, whatever. And the second reason is to show respect for yourself. So if you don't respect yourself, how do you expect other people to respect you? And I talk to a lot of young guys they're street guys. They've got their pants around their, waist and their butt and all this, and I tell them, people are going to judge you, right? We live in a world where people, unfortunately, they're going to judge you by your appearance. Yeah. The good news is you can control what they think about you by what you wear. So you can control that message. So you want to have all the cards stacked in your favor, especially when you're going on an interview. I'm very fortunate right now to be 8 for 8, helping my clients' sons get jobs on their first interview.
Look at that.
Wow.
So
awesome.
one of my clients' sons was going to actually work for a management consulting firm where I dressed the managing partner, right?
Oh,
so
that's an in. You had an in there.
Not necessarily. So I dressed him exactly like the managing partner. So you've got to remember, when you're going in for your interview, you want them to say, not here comes our next interviewee, but here comes our next managing partner. Here comes our next president. Here comes our next CEO. Here comes our next sales rep. You have to dress like you already have the job.
Yeah, and he does it because when you came to my house to talk to me, you dressed kind of like I would want to dress. You didn't. You weren't there with a tie. You weren't there all formal for me.
Right. So that's all part of it, right? That's all part of the process. I've got to mimic my client. If I was going to see a CEO of Global Payments, then of course I'm going to throw on a suit and tie and cufflinks and dress to the nine, because I know that he is a former, Wall Street guy, and so I'm going to dress like him. So he says, "Listen, I walk in, I pass the sniff test, and then we're off to the races."
Yeah, and that would be for any salesperson seeing anybody for an appointment,
right?
Just like that.
Right, absolutely.
So we've got a question from Doug Lehman in layman's terms. This is getting a little inside baseball here, but can you comment on business dress difference for business casual to executive sales level, and talking about sort of visual social proof? So I guess the difference for business casual to executive sales level, maybe a little more detail in terms of that. And I know we've talked about like whether or not it's a job interview or whether or not it's just for, general business casual. What are some of the differences and sort of inside baseball on that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So when you look at your calendar on the day, you look at your most important appointment, and I'm going to dress for that most important appointment. So if I'm seeing a CEO of a Fortune 100 company, or I'm going to dress for that appointment, that way I know I'm dressed for the whole day, right? So if I go someplace and they're not wearing ties, I can take my tie off. If I go someplace else and they're not wearing a jacket, I can take my jacket off. But you never want to be underdressed and behind the 8 ball. That's the worst thing that can happen as a salesperson, because now you're self-conscious. You don't know, you're not making a great first impression. So I'm always going to dress for my best, my first and my most important appointment. That way I know I'm dressed for the rest of the day. Also, too, a lot of leaders ask me, "Mark, how do I dress business casual and still look like a leader?" So there's a great book called Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. And he says in there, you always want to dress one notch above your subordinates. So the less you wear, the higher quality it needs to be. Great shoes, great belt, great glasses, great shirt like the Deej is wearing, making sure you're wearing a pocket square. It's all going to be about the details. The less you wear, the nicer and the higher quality it needs to be.
By the way, a pocket square is really a rectangle.
Well, it's different, right? We can do the points like I've got my points right here.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a square. Whatever it is, it's not a square.
Yeah, well, people call it a hanky. They call it different things, but I can tell a lot about a guy by the way he folds his pocket square.
By the way, I don't fold my pocket square. Let me tell you a secret. Fonseca folded it for me and put a little clip on it, so it's like a fake, those ties.
Yeah,
that are fake. Yeah.
Oh,
like
wow.
that.
A little special tip. What are those things called? Is it an ascot? I think it is.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I need an ascot.
What is that? Did you ever suggest that for someone?
That's the next step for the D's, is the ascot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah?
And the pipe.
I got into pipes for a while, but I didn't like the tobacco part. I just kind of liked holding the pipe, but it was fun to do it for a while. My wife didn't like it. I had to go first in the basement and then outside, and then it just got too much of a trouble. I'm only smoking a pipe for it.
So another thing too is just make sure that you're comfortable in your own skin, right? A lot of guys might not know what they like, but just as important, they know what they don't like. And if you're not comfortable wearing it, don't wear it. That's, another thing. And don't, a lot of times people go by what they see on television, a lot of the athletes and things like that. that's why everybody's different. I mean, Dan's obviously got lighter hair and different, skin. Chris, you've got brown hair. I've got dark hair. So we're all going to look we're different colors for different people, right? Whether you're 5'8" or 6'8", you're going to dress differently. And so the two most important things in dressing is color. Color's number one, and proportion, meaning your height and weight, is number two. And the most important thing is leading the viewer's eye towards your face. So as soon as they look at you, you're so well put together, your eye automatically goes to your face, and they're waiting to see what's the message I'm sending. So that's what I was really fortunate to be the wardrobe consultant for Turner Broadcasting. And a lot of the media companies, a lot of their on-air talent, when they're doing the news or doing the sports, they want people focused on the message, not what they're wearing. Right? They don't want to be distracted by a loud tie or dangly earrings or anything. It's got to be so well put together that they look at it, it checks the box, bam. First second they look, okay, this guy's got credibility. I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
That's an absolute great point. And I say this all the time because I'm in the podcasting and live streaming business. And so you never hear someone say, when they hear and they listen to a podcast and you ask them what their favorite podcast is, they'll say, well, my favorite podcast is The Sales Energizer because it just sounds so good. No, right. It's because of the content that's being put out. And so my job as a producer is to keep the distractions, keep everything away to focus on what Dan is saying. And that's kind of what you're talking about, is like when you want to look nice and professional and make that first impression. But if you're wearing something that's just distracting, right? And they're focused on how amazingly shiny your shoes are or whatever. Right. Yeah. What they're not looking at your face and they're not hearing what you have to say, and you're not able to translate that energy to what you want to be able to do, whether it's get a job, make an impression, make a sale, whatever it is. It's a great point.
Yeah. So it's all
it has
about
to match.
It does. It's all about branding. Your business card, how you look, your background in your office. Everything works together, right? One of the best compliments I can get is when my client leaves the room, they'll say, you know what? I don't know what it was about the Deej today. He just looked fantastic. It wasn't his pocket square. It wasn't his shirt. It wasn't his jacket. It wasn't his shoes. It was the total package. He just looked fantastic, because that's what you want. I don't want to say, wow, he had great shoes or he had this huge watch, right? Everything needs to work together. And that's the best compliment I can get as an image consultant or a professional clothier, is that the Deej look fantastic today.
There you go. I just like hearing that. So how can people get a hold of you?
They can certainly go to my website, which is Dress the Man, dresstheman.com. They can call me, 404-983-412, and I've had that same cell number for over 25 years. So those are the best ways. The best way is always referral, right? Most people hear about me through referrals like you did. And it was kind of uncanny how we met on the podcast. And I just happened to be on a podcast that you were on, and I get on there and you see me and you're like, you know what? I've been referred to you twice in the last 30 days or whatever it was. And now I see you. So,
and you happen to live in my neighborhood.
And I live in your neighborhood.
Yeah. Which is kind
3 minutes from you.
That's right. Which is kind of a
so
crazy
the best
thing.
is obviously the best, like any sales guy, you want to have referrals. And you can only give that by delivering a great experience like I gave to you, Dan.
Yes, and now we're friends. And listen, I want all you salespeople out there to remember this. It's a lot easier to make a friend out of a customer than it is to make a customer out of a friend. So don't think just because you meet somebody and you're going to get them to really like you that you're going to want to do business. That's the wrong way to do it. And if you're in the sales profession for any amount of time, you realize you have to have little advantages over your competition. If you're not calling on people, if you're not staying in touch with people, if you're not sending your thank you notes, somebody else is. And there's easy advantages that you could take for yourself. One of them is just dressing the part. If you're waking up late, brush your hair, for crying out loud. Get in a good shape. You could do these easy things that other people are willing to do. And if you do, everything is easier for you in this profession. It's the best business in the world. It's the best business and the easiest way for you to earn $300,000 this year. But it's a little easier for you to earn 30 just by not doing the things that are easy to do. You go get them today. You're the best. I'm the Deej. Knock them out.